called Europa. And Europa has an outside frozen crust of water which is 37 kilometres thick. But they're quite sure that in between the core of Europa and that outer crust that there is warm saltwater oceans. And they want to go and make sure it's very possible that there is life in that saltwater ocean of Europa. So they're sending a probe, two of them actually, one to drill into the ice to see what it's made up of, and the other to go into the ocean to see if there's what is in the ocean and is there life in there. Another moon that we're pretty sure has life on it. The moon's Saturn, so Saturn outdoes everyone. Saturn's got 147 moons. Poor old Mercury and Venus, they have no moons at all. They're the only planets in our solar system that don't have any moons. But there is a particular moon of Saturn called Titan. Now we have already had one spacecraft land on Titan called the Huygens probe. It was part of the Cassini spacecraft of 2004. So the Cassini took lots of photos and videos of Saturn, and it had a very small little probe called the Huygens probe that dropped off and landed down onto Titan, but it can only gather about 30 seconds worth of information. Now on Titan there are lakes and oceans of liquid methane. When it rains on Titan, it rains liquid methane. And scientists are 99% sure that in these lakes and oceans of liquid methane, there is bacteria living in there. And if that's the case, that means we have life on another terrestrial object other than Earth. So there is another craft planned for Titan at some stage. So this area that we're going in through, and which includes the Pinnacles as well, is an area called a Dark Sky Reserve, specifically the Yield Dark Sky Reserve. And basically what a Dark Sky Reserve is a national park for the night sky. So it means that all of this area very strict lighting regulations. Only the very minimum allowed lighting is allowed, so houses, businesses, factories, street lighting, and that's regulated by the West Australian Parliament. It was a bill put through Parliament in December 2020, and that's to best protect the darkness of the night sky. So it's an excellent area for stargazing. You can all see the Pinnacles, it all surrounds. That man that was serving you drinks, Jim, he's a very good astrophotographer. He's taken some extremely good photos of the hydrogen dust cloud on the Milky Way. Where you would see the Morrison cloud from here for about the next 30 to 40 kilometres south. So for the first time today we're just turning onto the Grand Highway. This was built in the late 1970s to better connect Perth to the city of Geraldton. You can see more Morrison flare on the right, but they're not quite as bright, those ones now. They've gone well past their full bloom. Here. northeast, the far east, you've got big massive gold mines. Gold was the first mining boom in West Australia when gold was first discovered a long way up north at Halls Creek in 1885, and then later in Kalgoorlie and Coolgardie out to the east. About 2 hours south of Perth inland, you've got a whole lot of massive coal mines, a lot of tin mines, and all throughout the southwest lithium mines. In fact, the lithium mine a little bit north of the town of Greenbushes is the largest lithium mine in the world. And over here we're just starting to see on our right hand side, these are all titanium mines. We're going to see quite a few of these in the next 15 to 20 minutes. Here as well, lots of wind turbines. There are lots of wind farms all throughout this area and many parts of WA. Also lots of very large solar farms. Just with that, Perth is actually ranked as the 6th windiest city in the world. You get the strong sea breezes in the afternoon, but most evenings, especially the warmer, hotter months, although there wasn't one last night, which is why today is a lot cooler, at about 9 o'clock. Most nights we get the very strong easterly wind that comes through, a katabatic wind, and most evenings that blows between 60 to 75 kilometres an hour, and that's a bit of a good guide. If it blows quite strong and all the way through into about 8 o'clock in the morning, then the day is going to be a fair bit hotter than normal. All the valley trees either side of the road here, those trees with the big silvery green leaves.
Indian
One over there is eucalyptus rhododendron, known for its big red flower. You'll hear that quite often called the rose belly, not flowering at the moment. 70 kilometres by about 40 kilometres. Thankfully no buildings were lost, no lives were lost. The town of Savandi's a little bit north of the Pinnacles was completely cut off for 5 days. And Indian Ocean Drive, that we're not long turning on to, was closed for those 5 days as well. Starting to see it here on the right. It's actually that spot back there on the right where the fire started. Unfortunately there was a car accident and the car caught on fire, which started the fire. So we're just turning on to Indian Ocean Drive for the first time today. This will be our friend for pretty much the rest of the day. Trees starting to get a whole lot more green back into them. So for grass trees, those trees that you can see with the long green spiky leaves, common trees in the southern half of WA, they actually reproduce by fire. Aboriginal people call the grass tree the balga. The botanical name is the Xanthorrhea presi. Very slow growing tree, but they will live up to 600 to 700 years of age. And yeah, like a lot of West Australian native trees, they reproduce by fire. Some of them, yeah, there's a few through here that have still got them. It's got a big stick coming up through the centre of the grass tree. That is the flower. And on that flower there's a whole lot of of spores. And when the heat of the fire comes along and cracks open those spores, and they then fly along in the wind and the smoke, fall to ground somewhere else. And the next time you have water on the ground, you get a whole lot of new grass trees sprouting up. And yeah, these, pretty much all of these, you can see clearly for yourselves, they've got lots of green in them emerging. Only a little bit more than 4 weeks after the fire. These sand dunes are mobile, they do move quite a lot. Trees. And we're just about to come into what's called Grass Tree Valley. Although a little bit different looking as normal because of that fire, but as you'll see, pretty much all of them have got green leaves on them again. Yeah, coming into Grass Tree Valley here. Noticing too, looks like we've got a little bit of a thunderstorm forming around here as well, and the early formings of that. Interesting. close until we get up to the Pinnacles car park.
This is Nambour National Park.
And as we come around here, you can see that yellow patch of sand up there. Straight ahead to the left, that is the Pinnacles Desert. Technically it is a desert, or a very tiny desert for Western Australia's standards. Now there are still a few theories as to how the Pinnacles were formed. Not one yet has been signed off by all the scientists. There is one main theory that most people think is how it happened. That's the one that I'll share with you. So that you can see the yellow sand up there. Yellow sand has a high lime content. It's very good for bonding and binding things together. You mix it with cement and water, you'll get concrete. Around the world it's quite often used as bricky sand or construction sand. And I told you earlier today that all this area was once under the ocean. So you've got the water mixing with the sand and all the things in the water, so seaweed, fish bones, seashells, coral reef, calcium deposits, all mixing together to make these concrete-like pillars that we call pinnacles. Then the ocean recedes, the ocean draws back, and you're left with all the leftover loose yellow sand surrounding the pinnacles. And then over the thousands of years, the sand is eroded away to reveal the freestanding pinnacles. They have been dated at somewhere between 25,000 to 30,000 years old, so extremely young for Western Australia.
So it's the Indian Ocean over there. And some little rock formations here. Well, the bus driver did say that it was looking like a thunderstorm formation. Oh wow. Yeah, that's spectacular, isn't it? Oh, well, there's cars over there. Spectacular, isn't it? It's like a different planet. So it's Australia's coral coast. Wait, how far away is this gift shop? Quite warm after you get out of the breeze. And having a black concrete path doesn't help. Radiates the heat. Nice wooden path though.